Alrighty, welcome back to another Hearts of Iron tutorial. Last video, I talked more about the general stuff that we could do with this game, the little viewers, different windows, things of that nature. Now, we're going to get into the Army basics. What is a division? How do you assign division to an army? And how you build a front line, set up your battle plan. These are just going to be the Army basics. So if you want to see stuff about logistics, templates, more in detail things, I'm going to be making that in another video for people that aren't brand new to the game. So yeah, just to hit you with my resume real quick, I have over 2,000 hours in the game. I have over 150 achievements. And I've been playing this game since 2018, when there's only, I think, 2 DLCs out at the time. Now there's like 10. And so many more achievements. So you could say I know a little bit about playing this game. Real quick before we hop into the tutorial, I'm playing on Historical as Germany Trial of Allegiance DLC. So 2024. First thing we're going to talk about is what you see here when you pull this up. Now this single unit is going to be considered a division. Every single unit is considered a division. First thing you're going to look at are these 2 parallel health bars right here. This first one is organization. As you hover over it, it tells you a little bit more about it. It indicates combat readiness and how organized a unit is. A unit with no organization can't fight or move effectively. So essentially this goes down based on how fast the unit's been moving, how much it's been attrited recently, and on what terrain it's fighting. So in the desert or the jungle, your default organization is going to be lower than what it would be. And if organization reaches 0, it has a lot of negative modifiers. Now, the next bar is the strength health bar. This represents how much damage this unit can suffer before it is destroyed. It is the numbers of what things you have. So like equipment, manpower, field guns, support equipment, what their fighting strength's at. That's where the HP actually is. So if your unit's getting severely degraded, they're getting outgunned, outfought, they're getting outgunned and outfought, then this bar is going to go down. And once that reaches 0, that unit's destroyed. They're gone. So organization can be 0 and you can be alright. Or not alright, but the division's still alive. But if strength reaches 0, that unit's gone from the game, it's deleted. Next, we're going to be looking at experience. Experience builds based on how much combat that unit is in and if it's being successful with that combat. So if you're constantly on the offense and you're just throwing your guys against a defensive wall and they're losing constantly, they're not getting experiences. In fact, they're losing experience because their veterans are dying. However, if you're in the defense and you constantly keep getting attacked and fending off those attacks, then you're going to be gaining a lot more experience, which is a positive modifier for you. Next, this just shows that the unit's entrenched. So if a unit's sitting around for a couple days, it receives an entrenchment bonus. And if there's like other types of defensive works around them, further defensive bonus for that unit. You lose the defensive bonus the minute you move that unit or if they've only just gotten to an area. This button right here is actually a super important button that people don't realize exists, especially new players. That is the Motorization Priority button. What happens when you change that button is it assigns more trucks to provide better supply to you when you're out of supply. So, 1, you have to have a lot of trucks on hand in order to set this to the highest priority. However, 2, if you set that to the highest priority, if you're, say, fighting over here in Stalingrad where your supply is terrible, you're going to be getting better supply than if you had it set to horses. See what I mean? So, recommend in the early game you leave it here, but as you gain more trucks, you change this to a higher and higher motorization. And you don't have to do this for individual templates, you can do this across whole armies and army groups. Without further ado, I'm going to get into that right now. We're going to select all of our units. We have 29 divisions. And we're going to left click this little green guy right here. the little plus icon. What that did is we just assigned all those divisions to an army. An army is composed of multiple divisions. An army group is composed of multiple armies. An army has a general in charge, while an army group has a field marshal in charge. So it says right here you can assign someone to be in charge of your army. You're always going to want to assign someone to be your general. Why? Because each general comes with his own benefits and positive modifiers that are spread throughout all your divisions in your army. So you can look at these specific traits based on what you're thinking you're going to need. Mostly I focus on these two, and these traits go up or down based on your national focuses and what experience that general receives in combat. These are specific traits to that general. Now, at the beginning of the game, some generals start with already generic traits based on historically who they were. We're going to assign Erwin Rommel to start. Now, if you click this plus icon, if you see that plus icon, that means that you can give your general an upgrade based on experience or whatever. Here is where you spend your command points. So you can see we can get this upgrade for him, but typically I don't unless I'm thinking I'm going to be way more defensive focused. He just naturally has that available to him. As your commander is in combat, it will unlock more of these traits. So as we see right here, if we look at infantry leader, the most unlocked trait probably, increases infantry division defense, and its earned traits can only be unlocked by gaining experience or by events. So as it says right here, we have 0 out of 1,000 experience, and it's gained while the infantry ratio is more than 80%, which means his army is composed of 80% infantry. As long as he fights with 80% infantry, he gains points. He earns points towards that trait, and that works for all of these other ones as well. Naval invader, engineer, cavalry leader, panzer leader, and organizer, as well as skilled staffer. So skilled staffer is another one. Why I recommend you have at least 24 divisions in each one of your armies, so that way they can earn points towards the skilled staffer trait. Over here on the right, we have the terrain traits. So they earn those experience points based on what terrain they're fighting in. So in the mountains, you're going to be getting the mountaineer trait, or desert fox, or swamp fox. Winter specialist is one of the more common traits, especially since if you're fighting within Russia itself. Also, when it comes to generals, say you're playing as a smaller country. The major countries like Germany, United States, and UK don't have a problem with not having enough generals. But if you're playing as a smaller country, you might be running out of generals pretty quick. So the way you get new generals is you just hit this button, Show Field Commanders. And when you have enough command power, you can assign the field commander of your choice based on experience or if their portrait looks super cool. Maybe I think this guy looks pretty solid. So I can promote him and he'll show up in my general pool. And if you don't have enough field marshals, say Germany only starts with 2 field marshals, say you want 5. Well, you can go right here and promote guys once you have enough command power to promote them. And then they become field marshals and you can assign them as field marshals. Easy peasy. I also want to talk more on the political advisor level. So if you see right here, you have all of your military staff advisors that you can assign when you have enough political power. You have Army, Navy, and Air Force, and then 3 general staff positions that you can assign. The purpose of this is to provide some bonuses to your armies as well as to gain experience for Army, Navy, and Air Force. So when you have these guys assigned, if you hover over them, daily you get 0.3 Army experience. Super valuable because that's the only way you can upgrade your doctrine, your land doctrine tree. I'll go in more detail in the advanced video, but just to give you a brief overview, you have mobile warfare, superior firepower doctrine, grand battle plan doctrine, and mass assault doctrine. I typically go with superior firepower doctrine because it goes into air-land battle, stuff that armies actually use nowadays. Also with army experience, you can spend it right here to add an academy spirit, spirit of the army, and a spirit of your division command. All of which add pretty good bonuses for your armies and for your generals. also with these other side advisors here. As you can see, they each have their own mantra or trait. So this one will add regrouping bonuses. This one will add fleet logistics, army logistics. This one will help you with submarine detection. So based on how you feel like you need to play, you can assign your advisors. If you looked around here, all of these generals have this button right here, which means you can upgrade them to become an advisor if there's no other advisor that exists. So I can upgrade this guy to become an army logistics advisor. So when I select that, army logistics expert, oh my goodness. If I go here, I can select him. He shows up now, and I can select him to become my army logistics advisor. He's grayed out because I already have a logistics advisor, but just for the purpose of this video, I'm showing it to you. As you can see down here at the bottom of my screen, it's red. It says 29 out of 24. That means that that general's leading too many units. The limit for an army is 24 divisions. So that means you need to take 5 of these guys and put them into a different army group, which is going to be on the right. Assign another general. Boom. Everything's all white now. It's no longer red. They're receiving positive modifiers only. Now we're going to assign these armies to an army group, to a field marshal. You're going to select the general by clicking on his portrait down here, and then left click on the green button on the left. The left is for the field marshal. You can only assign armies to be part of an army group. And we get the same deal right here. When you click the field marshal, it selects all the units that are inside that army group. So we can also take this guy and you right click on the field marshal, and now you have 2 armies within your army group. Make sense? Leave a comment if you're starting to get confused here. Now we're going to assign a field marshal. We can assign any one of these historical guys. We can assign any one of these historical guys, and it does the same thing, where their traits, their field marshal traits, are modified, spread throughout all the divisions that they're commanding. So we're going to assign Rundstedt. And boom. We have our army a little bit better organized now. You don't want to have a single division that's unassigned from an army. And you want to make sure that your generals are at 24 divisions, if you can. They'll start receiving those experience points to become a skilled staffer, and it also just provides better experience, more experience for that general more quickly. And then the same applies to the field marshal. When you have the chance, you want to have 5 armies assigned to his army group, because that gives him also a bonus for the skilled staffer trait. And then just some smaller things. You can move guys around in priority in here. All that really does is just like, for me, it just helps make it easier for me when I'm fighting based on where a unit actually is. So yeah, if it's like army 1, 2, 3, 4, I want army 1 to be right here, and then army 2 to be right here. That makes sense. And if you want to put these guys into a different army group, all you have to do is just left click on another field marshal, and boom, we have another army group here. Or if you made a mistake and you want to put them back, just right click on that field marshal, and boom. Also, there's a neat little trick you can do right here, especially if you have a smaller screen playing on a laptop or something like that. If you see this little arrow right here, it's a hide button. It's a lot cleaner now. So if you're getting so tired of seeing all these generals taking up the whole bottom part of your screen, because once it fills up the whole bottom part of the screen, it makes another row, which is super annoying. You can do this to help clean it up better. Either that, or you can assign an army to a new theater. And boom, they're in a completely different theater, operating on their own. It's just a way to help organize things better. I personally never use theaters. Why? Because I lose track of what these guys are doing and how many divisions they have, and you have to go all the way up here with your mouse, so much effort to go and click on these guys to see where they're at. So typically I just have everyone in one theater. You can also name your theaters too, like I can just name this Ostfront, Lovely. Now let's get into the action bar that you see right here. This looks daunting, but don't worry, it's actually quite simple because you don't use every single one of these buttons. Like, you're not going to use this one, you're not going to use this one. If you're fighting on land, you're not using this one. I never use this one. They made the game so you don't need to use this button, the training button. You can just hire an army general, so you can just gain army experience by having this army general in place. What we're going to be most concerned about is the most used button, the front line button. So we're going to click on our single general and create a front line with him selected. Boom. And if you zoom all the way up, you can see 24 divisions have been assigned to this front line on Czechoslovakia. So when we hit play, everyone is going to move towards Czechoslovakia. This icon right here means that they're utilizing railways to get there. So they're not crossing across the open country. They're getting there as fast as possible. And you can see that their organization is now 0. So if they're hopping off the railway to go fight some enemy, their org is not going to be good. Now, if you'd rather that men not use the railway, you can use Control B, and everyone will immediately switch to going on the ground. However, that takes much longer for them to get there. But their org will be higher. And you just hit Control B to tell them to just get back on the railways again. Now, when you assign people to a front line, as you can see up here, men will automatically get in boats and get there as fast as possible in the fastest route possible. So you don't need to worry about manually telling your guys where to go like in normal real-time strategy games. Now, if you want to create another front line with this general, all you have to do is left-click and select a different border. So you see right here, it made that little sound, the typewriter noise, because no divisions have been assigned to that order. And it says it right here, and it'll give you a little button up here. So to assign units to that order, select however many you want. Just shift-click and just select how many divisions you want to be assigned there. Hit this plus icon and assign those units there. And they'll make their way to set themselves up automatically on this border. And if you don't want them there, hit this minus button. Now those units aren't assigned there, but now they're unassigned. There'll be a little red exclamation point. So you're going to hit that plus button and assign them back to where they were normally at. Now, if you think you want to make your front line shorter, just hit the front line button again, and you'll see these 2 circles on the ends of your front lines. All you're going to do is you're going to right-click on that, it'll hold like that, and you're just going to move your mouse based on whatever size you want your front line to be, and your men will automatically adjust to it. Very nice. As you can see right here, we have some gaps in our front line with Czechoslovakia here now that we made it shorter. And maybe I think 24 divisions is enough. I need to put my other 5 on here as well. Well, you can do it one of 2 ways. You can do it manually by putting this guy right here, and his armies will, or his divisions will also move to this front line. Or, if you right-click on the trash button, you can get rid of all the front lines. You can assign them to a army group front line. When you have the army group selected and you hit the front line button, it will create a army group front line that looks slightly different from an army front line. So if you zoom up, you can see how it's organized. You have the 5 divisions over here, the 24 divisions right here. Pretty easy enough, right? We're going to have that same front line again for this army group. I just want to show you guys another thing that you ought to do every single time you make a front line, and that is set an offensive line. In normal military terms, this is going to be your line of advance. You're going to left-click on that, right-click to draw a line on the map to demonstrate where you want your units to go. If you hover over the arrow, it'll show what path they'll take to generally get there. This is an offensive line. So when you hit this arrow right here, it will execute that plan. Your men will attack on a general front automatically, controlled by the AI, to reach this line of advance. They'll attack based on what this button is set to, whether carefully, balanced, or aggressive. If you don't have a lot of equipment, you don't want to have this set to aggressive, because your men will do everything they can and constantly attack to get to this line of advance. Balanced is going to be kind of your bread and butter. Now, if the enemy doesn't have any men on their front lines or they're super weak and you just want to push them over, that's when I would have it set to aggressive. Because you don't just bleed equipment, but you bleed manpower at a very fast rate. If you don't have a lot of manpower and equipment, then you can set it to careful. Once your units reach the end of that front line and they're all set right here, they're going to stop and they're going to wait unless they're set to aggressive, at which point they'll just push through until the end of time. But if they're set to balance, they're going to stop at that line and not move a step further. So either you draw another offensive line once they get there and execute it, or you can draw a second one right here. So once they all get set on this line, they will automatically execute into this other line. As you can see, the game provides some cool automatic names. Fall grün, plan green. That's cool. So when you hit execute, your arrows will go like this to show that they're being executed. Start turning all actiony. However, we are not at war with Czechoslovakia, so you guys aren't going to do a thing. I'll go over that later in a different video about how you declare war on countries. Essentially, it's right there. And you can do the same exact thing I just showed to you with the army group. Assign everyone to an army group front line and draw an arrow. Now, everyone in that army group will execute that assignment. Or, as each unit is assigned to an army group, you can assign individual offensive lines to them. So I can tell this, the larger front line that I have right here, oh, I want you to go towards Bratislava. And then I can have the smaller guy right here on the right. I'm going to make your front line a little shorter and end at the mountains. But then you would have to execute those orders individually. As you can see, if I hit this one, those arrows don't start moving. That mission's not being executed. So it is a little better just to have a general army group line of advance. See, I messed up a little bit right there. Boom. Army group line of advance. If you zoom up on that arrow, it'll show who's assigned to it. So Army Group 1 is assigned to it, this whole Army Group, and 29 divisions in Plan Red. Next thing I want to talk about, we're going to be talking about a fallback line. That's going to be this shield button with the dashes going through it right here. You're going to left click, draw a line somewhere where you want to, and unassigned units will be automatically assigned here, and they'll move to this space in the middle of nowhere and spread out on it. Now, why would you draw a fallback line? If we refer to standard operating procedure, a fallback line is mainly used in the defense. If you want to have a preset position where your reserve assets are stationed or where subsequent battle positions are going to be, that fallback line is where the army is going to be set up on in a defense. It's good for moving units around if you want to position them somewhere or set up reserves somewhere, because you can't just draw a front line in the middle of nowhere. So a fallback line is good for that. And if we hit play, your units will automatically head there and set up. Lastly, I'm going to end this video with the basics of combat, micro combat, rather than on the general grand strategic level. As you can see in this game, I'm playing as Brazil and having a dandy time trying to fight the Axis in 1944. It's not going great in this game, and I think it's just going to start over. But anyways, basics of microwing. If you really want to focus your attacks and things of that nature, you're going to left click on your guy, and it's just like any other real-time strategy game, and you're going to right click where you want to attack to. So your guy will move over here and attempt to attack in that direction. So you can see a battle begins. Ooh wee, that's what all these numbers mean. Those are the battles and your odds of winning that battle. Now, even if it's below 50%, as long as it's green, you're good. If it's red, you're losing the battle. It's not going in your favor. If you click on it, it'll tell you exactly how the battle's going. Typically, I'm not really studying this super well just to see, just this bar right here, just to see how the battle is proceeding. Also, as you see right here, this icon right here, the two little boxes, that means that their supply status is below, I think, 50%. they're not getting all the equipment they need immediately. Even if I have them set to the highest mobilization priority or whatever, yada yada yada, this game's broken. Now, if you're trying to see more about logistical supply, remember that you have, that I said in my last video, that you have the supply map mode. So I can see right here when I hit the supply map mode that, oh yeesh, I have too many divisions here for them to get efficient supply. But here and here, 11 out of 15, 11 out of 15, okay. The supply hubs can handle that. So as your guy's attacking, if you want him to stop attacking, you see the battle's going bad, and you're just trying to do a probing attack, right? You can just right-click on the territory which he originated from, and he'll get out of there post-haste. Say in a defense, you're like, oh wow, your organization's really low, and you're not really helping the fight. I'm gonna have you retreat. While a unit is in battle, if you select on a tile next to him that's out of combat or in combat or whatever, you can tell him to retreat. So you can see there's an arrow right there. He'll start to make that movement and get out of there as fast. Okay. He'll start to make that movement and get out of that tile as fast as he can before he's completely degraded. Now, if they lose that battle, they don't die, right? They just get pushed back. Here, I'll demonstrate right here. Here we can coordinate everyone to that's not doing anything to start attacking this single tile. Oh wow, the battle's going in our favor now. If you lose a battle like these guys just lost the battle here, the divisions aren't destroyed. It just means that their organization is now 0. They need to fall back or force to retreat to a tile that's not in combat. So they're going to go back to this tile back here. We take that little territory. They're going to keep on trying to put guys there, and now we have it. The AI will constantly try to counterattack any gains that you make, as a good defensive player should do. Alrighty, I think I'm going to end the video there. If you learned something from this video, awesome, sweet. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Yeah, in the next video, I'll be talking about naval invasions, how to do them, how to naval invade the United Kingdom. And in the video after that, I'll talk about the offense, how to conduct the offense. Alrighty. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
Sir, want an apple?
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.